Hey everybody, your natural dog with Angela Ardolino, and my guest today is Lauren Becks from Girls Gone Raw. And today we're going to talk all about these chews and bones that we're seeing pop up on raw bars all over the internet. Some of them are amazing, and then others could be a little dangerous, or they could have snuck on some preservatives or flavorings or colorings that we do not want to give to our pets. We're also going to talk about sourcing and how important that is. So stay tuned. All right. We're back with Lauren. And how's it going?
Pretty good. Pretty good. It's been a busy week over here. We had carnivore crates going out last week, and this is like finally my 2 days of just quiet and catching up on email.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I wanted you on because I know you'd be a great source to talk about all of these chews and bones and
Yeah.
yes, I'm not one of those people that freaks out about the duck head and the duck feet and all those things. I sold them in my store all the time in my treat bar. I loved it. But the only thing that always freaked me out, and honestly, some I wouldn't order, it's because I just thought about a dog like my Jolene who inhales these types of things. And she is, pit bull mouth, man. She is a whatever, but she will chew, 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 inhale, bite another, work off another piece. So those are like some of my concerns that I want to get to, but I don't even know. There are so many freaking choices now. I feel like everybody and their mother somehow is coming out with a treat company, and I know it ain't easy, and I know there's a process, and I know there's a right way and a wrong way. Also, I get kind of freaked out when I go into a raw bar and they're all just sitting out there. And I come from Florida where you're moist. Everything is moist all the time.
And buggy.
So that kind of freaks me out. So anyway, let's first talk about how to recognize whether a treat is a good treat. Like, how do you know it doesn't have some sort of flavoring or coloring or preservative sprayed on it? Like, how do you recognize a natural treat?
I have a hard time with anything that looks too good to be true, which is so hard for our very normal pet parents that look at a duck head and they're like, oh, hell no. You know what I mean? And they want something that's as sterile as a rawhide roll, as sterile looking. You know what I mean? And now we're going to the beef cheek rolls, and I'm like, okay, why is it so white? How do they get it white? Okay, if it's not titanium dioxide, if there's no artificial ingredients, then what are they doing? Because I can guarantee it's not coming out of an animal looking like that. And it's not coming out of an animal puffy like that. You know what I mean? So
yes, I came up with a rule long time ago, don't trust anything white.
Bleached and hairless ears. Pigs are different because I wish I would have brought one in. Like pigs, they dunk them because the hair is so coarse. But like my beef ears, I get them fresh and bloody and gross from the butcher, and we cut the tags off and dry them. You know what I mean? And so I understand that that is absolutely outrageous to some people, but I want to know, how do you get something so sterile without it being artificial or unnatural? Because I can guarantee you that they're doing things to that they don't have to tell you. That's kind of the caveat with chews. I don't have to label something like this. This is an unadulterated product. Okay, I got it straight from the butcher in this form and then air dried it. I didn't add anything, whatever. But the regulations around something like that are so lax to where if you can consider it a chew, it's not ground or mixed with anything, then you don't have to say what's in it, how it's done. I don't have to label it, which benefits me because, as a small business, it's hard to individually wrap and label everything. It's hard to, not necessarily hard to nutrition test, but everything costs money. And I know that I have integrity and I'm not adding anything to it. But you go there and they don't have to tell you the ingredients. I mean, there's no ingredients on it, or it'll just say beef cheek. They don't have to tell you everything. Where is it sourced? How long has it been sitting in a warehouse? Why is it so white? You know what I mean? And then you have all natural, but then it's orange or green. I can't, I guess it's hard for me because I'm so far down this rabbit hole, but like I can't even fathom looking at that and being like, oh, that's a great choice for my dog, this bright green chew.
You mean you're talking about a greenies?
Oh,
Are you talking about a greenies?
I'm not
I
talking.
just went on. I just saw Fortune Femmeister, who I met long ago, and we help her dog doing a greenies plug on Instagram. And I'm like, no, what are
Oh,
you
honey.
doing? Please call me and do not give that to your old dog.
I understand. Like these influencers, you gotta, it's sometimes a well-paying job. It's sometimes it's like brand deals are it. But I saw, yeah, like Rudder or something, and she posted some Hearts products, and everyone was like, um, girl, off brand, in the trash. You
Well,
know what I mean?
you know what? When I see an influencer who's doing something like that, I immediately stop following them because it means they don't have any integrity.
Yeah,
And
I'll give them one chance. She did
yeah,
also post after that. She's like, I honestly had no idea about any of these issues. And she's like, I didn't use it.
good. It's
I'm
been
like,
done to me. It's been done to me. And a girl wrote in and I invited her on my podcast because I was so excited she caught that detail. But long ago, I did a video about lavender essential oil. And he was an intern. One of my kids who I've known forever was acting as an intern. So he got all my props and handed me a lavender. And I pretended and it was a now lavender. And she was like, I can't believe you use now.
you're like,
I would have
okay.
never. I was like, no,
Oh,
it's not. I swear.
I know. Jess called me out for some fish oil the other day, and I was like, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm doing my
It
best.
is.
There's just so much to know, and that's why I'm like, I put a lot out there, and I really try not to shame because like I've learned so much. I mean, the stuff that I used to feed, not always, but some of the things that I used to feed, and I look back and I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe I ever fell for that. But the marketing is sexy, and they have big budgets, and they have a lot of studies to know how to get you to like it. The words are sexy.
And they got a veterinarian and sometimes even a veterinarian that you love and trust
Yeah.
pitching it. And then you read the ingredients. Yeah, I've gotten to the point where it's like, pet parents listening, trust no one. Read those
Trust no one.
ingredients, know where it's coming from. One of the most important things that you just said was sourcing. And sourcing
Mm-hmm.
is my monster. And when I was making my treats, I wanted to partner with someone who knew what they were doing. And I got my dream person. And then my dream person did not know where they sourced their ingredients from and then shamed me
Yeah.
because they were going, well, do you know how much it's going to cost? It's going to be 10 times the cost. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm that bitch. I'm
Yeah.
that bitch who does not want the factory farmed sourced ingredients. I
Yeah.
don't want, we know that if they're not fed the biologically appropriate diet, we're going to be lacking those nutrients. Also, people don't understand when it comes to organs. These freeze dried organ things, and if they're not coming from the right place,
Yeah.
you are going to have some contaminated,
Liver and
icky,
kidney specifically.
yeah, liver and kidneys in specific. So, how do you do your tell me about your sourcing? Because I know it's a bitch. It is very
Yeah.
hard to find. And when you do find the right farmers, and I go through the same thing with sourcing my mushrooms and my hemp and all my adaptogens, same thing. It's hard to find the people that are doing it right. And then
It is.
oftentimes you have to work with them and you got to go get it or you got to figure out
Hmm.
how to get that wonderful thing.
It's a
So,
grind.
how do you handle sourcing?
It's an absolute grind. And I've been really lucky. I've gone through a lot of bad sources. I've gone through a lot of good, but well overpriced sources, which is hard because these people I'm working with are small farmers. And I don't want to say, I need to be able to pay you less. You know what I mean? But the industry is what it is. And if I can't get a product to the expected price and also be able to benefit, I have bills to pay, I have employees to pay, I have a lot of electricity bills to pay. It's hard. I've had a couple painful breakups, but I've really reached a point now where I can kind of blindly trust these people. And I'm able to kind of settle into it and look for slightly better too. Doesn't mean that what I have isn't good, but I have a really good small farm raised beef. I really want a grass fed small farm raised beef, but I limit myself to a really small locale. You know what I mean? I want to stay like Pennsylvania. I want to be able to drive and pick it up or have them drive to me. And that to me is important because I grew up in a farm community and I want to support my local community and these farmers because it's honestly a dying trade. They're having to beg people to take over farms now. A lot of farms are having to go to chemicals and things like that out of regenerative because it's not as profitable and it's a whole thing, but the relationship between myself and my farms and making sure that I'm buying enough to keep their practices supported and trying to figure out that price sometimes so that we're all able to kind of afford to live. And that's where I think some of these companies, I feel like everybody and their mother's brother's cousin is making a dehydrated treat now because it's not an overly complicated process, honestly. I mean, it's just a blow dryer in a box. You can buy a dehydrator
An
for your
expensive
counter.
blow dryer in a box.
Yeah, I have a lot of very large blow dryer boxes, but you know what I mean? It's not like a freeze dryer is a very complicated process and a very expensive piece of machinery, even just to get like a 4 or 5 tray one. So it's not a super complicated process. Everybody's making them, but then everybody's sourcing slightly sketchier. So their stuff might be slightly cheaper than mine. Or if you have high budget, you can buy massive truckloads full of this stuff. You know what I mean?
I do, because the same thing happens in my industry. You can buy bulk broad spectrum, you can buy bulk Chinese powder,
Mm-hmm.
mushroom powders, you can buy everything. There is a cheap way. And remember that this is an unregulated industry.
Yeah.
So, most, and in supplements, it's 85% of supplements are not don't do, are inactive, are not a therapeutic dose,
Yeah.
don't even contain what they say they have in. And this includes the ones made by veterinarians and doctors because it's completely unregulated, guys. So you have to do your homework. You have to read
Yeah.
the ingredients. And when it comes to these chews, you have to look at the companies that you're buying them from so that you know where they're from. Unless you're walking into a boutique shop that does their homework and make sure that they vet every product in their store, which there are so many of
Yeah.
those stores, those independent stores. But if you're going to one of these big retailers or even a grocery store or a farmer's market, tell me about these people that pop up at a farmer's market that I've never heard or seen. You have to know where they're sourcing it from. Are they putting anything on it? Let's talk about, I don't even remember. Remember the chicken jerky, the contaminated chicken
Yeah.
jerky? You can literally buy bulk chews and jerky from China and put them in a bag and sell them.
If it was packaged in the United States, it can be labeled a US product. Didn't even have to be made in the US. Doesn't mean the
I
meat came
know
from the US.
I know a mushroom company who has the USDA seal on it, who's grown and manufactured in China, but because they're packaged in a pouch at a USDA facility, they put that on there. So yeah,
Yeah.
USDA organic and all that shit means nothing anymore. So you have to
Yeah.
know, right? Right? The only way to know is know who's behind the brand and who's making it. Otherwise, I wouldn't trust it.
I feel like I go above and beyond because the background behind my whole company is not just I woke up one day and was like, wow, I should make dog treats. It was that all of my dogs were continuously getting cancer and dying and suffering from arthritis and chronic yeast infections, even though we were doing what we thought was the best. And then I was like, you know
I'm
what?
so glad you said that.
Screw
That's
it.
literally why I'm so like crazed right now. Cause I'm doing is looking at ingredients and what's going in and on our food, water, grooming products, whatever. Cause same thing happened to me when Nina got cancer. And I was like, wait, what? And of course hers was a genetic one, but doesn't matter. What's
Yeah.
happening now is that there is a huge population of pet parents who know better now. They know how to
Yeah.
feed. They know about the treats, they know about the supplements, but why are they still getting cancer? Why can we still not get this animal in homeostasis? And it's because they're not natural. And they do
Yeah.
have these terrible ingredients. They think, oh, I'm going to go get that one ingredient treat. Well, guess what? That one ingredient treat was made by an asshole who doesn't care about your pet and put all kinds of
Yeah.
things on it and made it dangerous or inactive or whatever.
And that's the thing. Genetic cancers or not, both of mine we do believe were genetic cancers, which we had 3 labs that all got breast cancer, and they were all supposedly well bred, and everybody did their testing as far as I'm aware. I was younger, so it's hard to tell. But genetic or not, we have control over epigenetic influences.
Yep.
So those are your things like fragrances and pharmaceuticals and, spaying and neutering. And I kept all of my dogs intact. Well, I didn't, obviously. I was like 16 with the last one, but we kept our dogs intact because we were always holistic. And I think if you can be responsible, and we didn't have male dogs, if you can be responsible and keep your dogs intact, then you should be able to. But then they
Yep.
all got breast cancer. And even my vet was like, I got to be honest, I think it's because she was intact for so long. And I'm like, but why? Why is something that's built
unnatural.
into their body dive bombing their body? And like, it just feels so, stuff like that comes up that I'm like, you're telling me that this body part that is biologically built in it to have so many important roles, and I could go about this forever. I talked to Karen Becker at the Nautical Dog event last year about it. You're telling me that this very, very biologically important body part needs to be cut out or else it's going to kill your dog? What are we doing wrong? Why do we have so much dysbiosis that the body is attacking itself constantly? Do you know what I mean? Like that, there's just no way that is it. Just, just cut out the uterus and ovaries and then your dog won't get cancer. Why is it causing cancer? Because they have hormones?
Right. And because you do that, and when you do that, there's all kinds of things that causes also. So no, that is not the answer. And what's worse is that when your dog does get that breast cancer diagnosis, you're told there's nothing you can do, which is also bullshit and not true.
Yeah.
Breast cancer and breast cancer drugs piss me off so much because there's so many different breast cancer drugs out there now. And you'll hear them in the commercials, targeted new breast cancer targeted drug. And people don't understand how cancer works. And cancer works by spreading through 12 pathways, signaling pathways. Cannabis has already been proven to interact with 8 of those pathways. You add other adaptogens, these medicinal mushrooms, astragalus root, ashwagandha, bacopa, all these incredible green tea extra, all of these, and you're dealing with all 12 pathways of cancer, and you really can stop that cancer from spreading and taking over your dog. The pharmaceutical drugs, those targeted ones, only target one of the pathways. And not only do they target the pathway, and if you were to go the conventional route, they literally put you all through, the radiation and chemotherapy and don't ever do anything to help support your body when it's going through that. I literally am helping a human right now who has stage 4 breast cancer, who's in so much pain, and they've got her, want to give her so many awful drugs. And our E's got rid of her pain, And not only is a full spectrum hemp extract with other adaptogens going to get rid of the pain, it's literally, again, interacting with those 12 signaling pathways and slowing down the progression and killing cancer cells and helping the immune system.
It's hard to say, like, give all these holistic things and you won't get cancer or your cancer will go away. No, it doesn't work like that. And we're not necessarily saying that. The best way that I've ever seen it, and I lost my brother-in-law to cancer, and it's so hard because sometimes the body's just going to fight itself. But cancer is occurring in our bodies every day. So cancer expression, you know what I mean, when it actually becomes an issue, the best way I've seen it explained is as a dysbiosis of the body. Something in the body is not working clear enough to control that natural mutation. And obviously we have genetic factors and there's so many different things you can go in there. But the best thing that you can do is just dive bomb the body with every bit of natural, cyclical, touching grass support that it can get from the earth. I feel I'm not a romantic religious person. I think romantic's not the word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean? I am so
You're not woo-woo.
I'm for sure woo-woo. But I am so team biological cycle. You know what I mean? It's even, and that's kind of how I could go on a massive rant about this because that's how my company kind of came into this weird little bloody symbiosis that I have, is because I worked and studied ecology, wildlife biology, and everything like that. And it's disruptions that cause a massive cascade effect. And it could be a little disruption, taking out wolves. It could be adding cane toads. It could be cutting down a specific kind of tree. All of a sudden, everything cascades.
Same thing. Yeah. So yeah, I know we're
Happening in our
speaking the same
bodies.
language. Yep. Same. We're speaking the same talk because what happens, these pharmaceuticals, these toxins and flea and tick things and the contaminants in our
So,
water and the additives in the supplements and in the food literally take the immune system, the body's
yeah,
ability to heal itself away. Its innate ability to heal itself, they take it away. They overwork the liver. So that's why it's so
yeah,
important that we want that natural, true, and treat, not to have anything in it and know that it was sourced correctly, because that's another thing that you're adding to them that their liver is gonna have to deal
it's
with.
like putting 50 jackets on and being like, okay, go defend yourself from a bear. And you're like, what? Take the
Exactly.
jackets
So
off.
take the fucking jackets off and stop fucking with Mother Nature. Mother
I
Nature
know.
provides us with all the food and medicine that we need, and it's money. Every time you follow that, why did they do that? Why are they preserving it that way? Why is it that color? Why did they put that additive in there? It's all about the money. And
Yeah,
I'm the person who I would rather pay the money for the quality thing that I know came from the right source and someone took the time to do all the right things. Because if not, I'm going to pay for it later at the vet's
yeah,
office or the doctor's office. You're going to. It makes a difference. I've been doing this straight for 20 years, and I'm telling you, it makes a difference. I now do not have to depend on anyone in a white coat for my health or my pet's health. I got
yeah,
it. And it's not that hard. It's actually easier. So it seems like it's more expensive and a lot of work up front, which it might be because we have to change our belief system and really take off the glasses and go, nope, nope, I don't have to listen to the
yeah.
doctor who has trained this. I know
Listen,
better.
I am the first person to tell somebody to fire your vet. You choose them. They are serving you. You don't have
So,
to listen to them yell at you about your diet. Find someone else. There's people like, it might be more expensive, but there's people like Dr. Katie Kangas, who do virtual consults, and you
yep.
can have blood work done anywhere and sent out to her. I'm very lucky to have vets that I love and trust.
Yeah, I have a link on my website. You guys do not have to settle for a conventional or even an
Mm-mm.
integrated. If you want a full holistic, on my website, not on my website, on CBD Dog Health's website, there's literally a consultations tab, and you can get telehealth with Dr. Katie, with Dr. Kathy, Dr. Bob. They're all holistics for like 20, 30, 40 years, and you can do
Yeah.
telehealth. And just like Lauren said, you can go get blood work done, send it to them, and have a teleconference. And that is what I have been doing for years and years and years. And
If you're
use,
required to get a whole panel of vaccines to even go to your vet to get blood work, fire them, first of all.
yeah, right.
I have to get vaccines for you to tell me if my dog is healthy enough to get vaccines.
There's so many things, like we could like just make this like a series. If your dog,
Yeah,
if they want to prescribe your dog a Valium or tell them to take Benadryl to calm down, get a new vet.
get a new vet.
If they send you a
Yeah.
postcard in the mail every year telling you to come in for your vaccinations, get a new vet. So
Yeah, and you
it's
know
just,
what? I was going to go to school to be a vet. That was my thing. My whole life, I wanted to be a vet. And if you want to go into vet school, you have to start racking up hours in vet clinics as soon as possible. So I started working in vets, conventional, very conventional, like farm vets, all the way through high school and like the first 2 years of college. And I was just like, I'm done. And like I couldn't shut off that little holistic switch in my brain. So I was that one in my nutrition classes saying like, okay, well, why don't we feed chickens bugs instead of beef, meat, and blood meal?
okay, well, then I have a question for you. Why isn't there a cat food made out of rats and mice?
I would buy it. I think raw feeding Miami just started like dehydrating or freeze drying mice, and I'm like, wow, my cats would love that.
You can already get them either, well, I guess not freeze dried, but you can get them frozen because I raised an owl and cleared out my rat
You raised
supply
an
on my.
owl.
Yes, I raised an owl. And yeah, and I was like, okay, you're going to have to chop up live animals and whatever. So
Yeah,
I caught them on my farm. I was dedicated and
good for you.
literally stuck hoses down the rat holes. And then they would run up the side of the coop and I would take a Home Depot bucket and grab them and throw them in the bucket. So, and then I couldn't catch them anymore. They all were like, we need to move. So I didn't have
Yeah,
any rats anymore for that reason. So then I was like, shit, what do I do now? So literally I ordered them online frozen
like
and would
feeders.
have to feed them that way.
I get questions all the time, like how I got into this weird position, like doing rabbit heads, and they're like, oh my God, like, how are you okay with that? I'm like, I worked in raptor rehab for maybe 10 years on and off. I was cutting open mice, shoving medicine in it, and then putting it back together. They taught me how to use a meat cleaver because I was meat cleaving fresh roadkill and rotten stuff for our turkey vultures. And we'd have to do the live feedings, which were hard, but then how dare you deny a wild animal that? First of all, you need to be able to get them used to that. And once you think about it, you're like, and if that mouse got away, I was like, hell yeah, brother, good for you. You worked, you survived.
So
Go get
and
eaten
that was the
somewhere else.
next thing I do. I'm like, I got to teach Hootie how to catch his own food. So when he got to the point where I could tell he got it, I would take the mouse, throw it out and on the back porch and leave because I just couldn't deal with that part. But I'd be the same way. I had quite a
Yeah,
community of the ones that would get away, and I'd be like, okay, good, you did
yeah.
it.
And
But
the
it's
hard
funny.
one to swallow was I was actually an equine science major. I've grown up with horses my whole life. And when I worked at the zoo, they feed horse meat. And I was like, but then I was like,
Uh,
I get a lot of people that are mad at me about rabbits. And I'm like, but you're not mad about chickens? You're not mad about cows?
or
Pigs? Pigs are
pigs.
smarter than toddlers. Rabbits are just prey animals that are cute. Pigs are smart and
Pigs
affectionate.
are really
Cows
smart.
have friends and they're intelligent. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but
Yep.
you're mad at me about rabbits, which are the most that and like birds. They're the most biological prey animals. You know what I mean? That's kind of what the world intended them for.
And talk about a biologically appropriate diet. What do you think they're eating? What are the wolves and coyotes and foxes catching and eating out in the wild?
What does everybody tell me that their dogs are catching in the yard? Not pigs.
Rabbits.
It's rabbits. And I'm like,
I know.
maybe take it from your dog, freeze it to kill any parasites, and then give it to them because your dog is not as strong as its.
Freezing doesn't kill parasites. I learned. So got to find another way. I don't know how to kill them, but I
That's why
just
I have a
learned
hard time drying.
drying.
Unfortunately, heat kills
Yeah.
parasites, but it also kills a lot of other stuff. So that's how I'm like you'll notice I don't do a lot of organ meats because I'm so glad that people have like liver trainers and stuff that are high value that their dogs love. Proportionately, your dog should not be getting that much organ meat. And also, as many good things are in the liver, I'm like it does also filter out a lot of junk, so you got to be careful with that, and then you're getting the copper imbalances, which may or may not be coming from that. But I don't know. I'm more of like a hearts girl or whole prey. At least for getting the whole balance, for getting everything in its natural role together.
Okay, good. Say that again. So we're looking at that treat bar, or even they're bagged, or sometimes when we're looking at those choices, let's stay away from the liver and the
It's
kidneys
not that stay away from it,
unless
but
we know for sure where it is sourced or where it came from, because those are the two that could be dangerous if they're not sourced
yeah.
correctly.
And
Okay.
if you get that, feed it in moderation because the body is just too much. Everything in a prey animal is the balance that it's supposed to be. And if you feed too much muscle meat, it'll throw things off, but less so than feeding excessive amounts of one very, very dense, small organ. And like the liver's big, It's not that big, and they're not going to eat the whole liver in one go, even if they were like harvesting a prey animal, except for like a rabbit or something like that. So that's why I like whole prey items, because you get the heart, liver, lungs, pancreas, spleen, kidneys, you know, you're getting everything in its own perfectly balanced biological God intended package. And you're getting all of those co-nutrients that regulate each other. And so, the people that go out and feed like whole fresh rabbits and stuff to their animals, good for you. I was never able to do it. My dog was like, what am I supposed to do with that? I'm just a baby. But I like the prey model rabbit sticks for that reason, because and like quartered rabbit frames, the whole prey quail that we make, things like that, because it gives you an approachable way to get those organ meats. The rabbit stick specifically, again, you're not just getting a bag full of liver, a bag full of kidney, heart, whatever. You're getting the whole biological package ground into a fine sausage that you can kind of break up. A little bit of, fur, a little bit of bone.
It's like a full spectrum hemp extract. You're getting all the goodies.
Well, yeah, and that's what you need that. I mean, we don't really, we talk about like, yeah, you need magnesium. Take magnesium. Well, you need the co-nutrients. So that's my thing with, I think you explained it at one of your talks, or I was listening to something that like you need the THC to open the door for the CBD to go in and do the work. And I was like, co-nutrients, essentially, because that's how it works. I mean, you need vitamin X to help the expression of vitamin,
Yep.
Z.
Don't
And
mess with Mother Nature. Again, she's figured it out and she did it the right way. We don't need to mess with it or take out some things or add things.
well, not to say that there's some supplements that haven't done their due diligence to give a biologically activated version of maybe things like curcumin, but every day, all day, I will choose a whole food version of a nutrient over any isolate.
Yeah, I'm not
Always,
saying even in that
yeah.
that the curcumin isn't going to necessarily do the action that it maybe is promising to do, but there's going to be a side effect. You took away its friends, you took away its helpers.
Mhm.
So, and it never is going to work as well. So, always whole food, whole plant,
Yeah.
whole mushroom, medicine, and food all the time, and stop
Yeah.
messing around. Real quick, I want to talk about bones,
Yeah.
because bones always freak me out. I never know, should I have the ones that have some meat left on them? Do I stick? I do go for the raw ones because they I trust them the most. But
Yeah.
smoked always freaks me out. I'm like, are
Yeah.
they supposed to be cooked? Aren't they not supposed to be dried out? I'm so confused. So what do you know about bones?
Yeah, that's like probably the number one question that I get. That and fur question mark. Are my bones
I know
cooked?
fur is fine because unfortunately I have to
Yeah.
pull a hair out of my dog's ass on a weekly basis. So I know fur is
Yeah,
okay.
it's like nature's pipe cleaner. But yeah, so with bones, people panic, right? Because I sell chicken feet and they're like, chicken bones? Chicken bones? You can't feed chicken bones. And then I even had someone leave a review on Google one time because they bought my whole mackerel, which is like an entire fish just cut in half.
Yep.
And she's like,
Mhm.
there's bones in this. What? And I'm like, what do you think I was going to debone a fish this big? How do I just pull it out the other end? No. So what it comes to is temperature. So you don't want cooked bones, and raw bones are safe. Safe asterisk. Okay. You have to stay within an approachable window. I go small bones and I go meat covered bones. So the largest bone that I think I sell is, maybe turkey necks. There's the people that do turkey wings. I've done it before, and I sell it with kind of an asterisk of like, hey, know your dog. Anything large enough, regardless of the form that it's in, could cause damage if not chewed properly. And so that's where like this whole conversation is kind of like a asterisk. Know your dog. Know your chewing style. The temperature comes into play where if you go above, I think, and the research on it is a little iffy, but we know that if you go above like 300, you are hardening the collagen, which takes a bone. Like the collagen is the elastic in a bone that allows it to bend without snapping. You can jump off of a 10-foot wall and you're going to hurt a little bit, but your bones are going to naturally flex and then spring back. That's what these raw bones are doing. They're bending and then just kind of cracking rather than if you have something really rigid and it bends and it splinters. So when you get a cooked bone, it's the collagen is hardened and it's splintering into potentially sharp pieces versus a dehydrated bone. We're almost kind of crystallizing. We do it like 160 to 165, which is the temperature guaranteed to kill salmonella and any pathogenic bacteria, and it helps it stay shelf stable. Would I prefer to go lower temperature for the sake of nutrient retention? I'd love to, but I also don't want to get slapped with a very expensive recall because somebody's dog had a weak stomach. So that's the iffy part, and I don't really want to do a kill step. I don't want to have to add phages or anything to it, and I can't guarantee that somebody's going to store it in the fridge. So we go 160 to 165. That keeps the collagen kind of softer and it crumbles. I mean, you can go in and break these bones with your finger, but I'm not also going to sell a open bare bone because there's still a chance that a chunk can come off. A dog is chewing irresponsibly and has a weak gut or something could happen. So we do meat covered bones. Everything is going to be, you know, for those that are listening and not seeing, I have frog legs. There's bones in there, but they're meaty. We have tons of bones, obviously, in a neck, but there's so much cushion around that to kind of pad everything on the way down on the off chance that we get a chunk that is a little bit inappropriate. And weight-bearing bones. So that's where my asterisk with raw bones is. Like, I'm not even sure that I recommend raw rib bones. Like I said, turkey wings, anytime that you get into weight-bearing bones, so like femurs and thigh, or femurs and shin bones and stuff like that, you have to be really careful because they're just really thick. And if you get a good chew on it, raw or otherwise, it can chunk off. So when you dry that and then you're taking away even more of that flexibility, I just feel really sketchy about it. That's why everybody's always begging me for heavier chews. And I'm like, there's a lot of people that dry marrow bones or smoke them, and I'm not willing to do it. It's just, I've seen really, really sharp pieces come off with my dogs and stab them in the mouth, get lodged in the gums, scrape them, or even if it didn't get consumed, if it did get consumed, it would be super sketchy. And I've even seen that with raw marrow bones.
That's kind of how I feel too. So it kind of makes me not feel crazy. But yeah,
I like knuckle bones.
I love.
They're big, they're meaty. I wish I had one in my freezer. I just haven't gotten them in a while, but they're big and they're meaty and they're absolutely coated in cartilage and
A piece can't
like
break
connective
off.
tissue. And they're round. So you can't just get in there and like death chomp. Marrow bones are also notorious for breaking teeth. And I had a dog that slab fractured tons of her teeth because she would just go in on a marrow bone and death chomp and then
Wow.
break a tooth. So that's why people aren't really recommending marrow bones anymore. Know your dog. My two dogs right now, completely fine with them. They're not hard chewers, they're scrapers, and they'll pick it up and put it down. I could give my dogs right now anything because I know that they're safe chewers. My lab before, knuckle bones only, and any of these like bully mixes with those big, heavy, chomping teeth.
I got one that's good and one that's not. Well, that was great information, and thank you for sharing it. And again, anything that you're giving your dog, really look into what it is. Do your research.
Yeah. And we talked about smoked bones. I didn't touch on that because that's another end that I'm like, do you know what's coming out of that smoke and being deposited into the bone? Even, we have cold smoked now. What does that mean? How is it preserving it? What is coming out of that smoke to be the preserving agent? And I'm like, maybe it's just that I don't know enough. I don't know enough to say no. I definitely know enough to say no to hot smoked because that's a higher temperature.
And the ones that are just trying, they're just trying to look smoked or flavored or whatever it is. It should look,
natural
hold up
flavor.
That first, hold that big piece of thing up. So that's what it should look like a real body part. It shouldn't be bleached. You should see bloody and icky and whatever. And that's
crusty.
What it is. And that's a piece that you'd give a dog and then take away and then give it to him again and take away and give away. Because if they ate that whole thing, they'd have some issues, right?
And that's, I don't know. My Rottweiler's fine, but honestly, my dogs are bulletproof. For a normal dog, I'd say, know your dog. If they're even slightly sensitive, break it up, especially the beefiers. That's another heavy chew of mine, and they are hairy. But I think it was Krista from Pug and Hound. Like, she's been buying wholesale for me for years and years and years. And one time I decided to start rinsing off my beef ears because they come to me and they are just sometimes so bloody. And I was like, let's just like rinse them off and see what they look like. And she's like, where's the seasoning? And I'm like,
Where's the
I'm so
seasoning?
sorry. She's like, stop cleaning them. We need the sprinkles. And I'm like, you're so right. I mean, because it's one of those that dogs smell it and their pupils are like, because it's
Oh,
like a
awesome.
sensory, it's like an enrichment chew, I tell people. Same with like the rabbit, all of it. You get the fur, the smell. It's stimulating instincts in their brain that they forgot they had. And that's okay. Your mini golden doodle comes from working on somewhere.
Yeah, Proof is just giving them a piece of, I'm right now getting freeze dried tripe from Rossum. I mean, tripe is so disgusting smelling and
So
they
gross.
love it.
I know. Everybody's like, "Can you do bully sticks? Can you do tripe? Can you do testicles?" I'm like, I have to pay these employees. They choose to show up. You know what I mean? So I set a rule like when I first started, I'm like, okay, no faces and no genitalia, and I added no tripe on afterwards because it's just. Have you ever wanted to take a vacation inside of a cow's asshole? Welcome to
Here
tripe.
you go. Welcome to
But
tripe.
I held firm on no genitalia. I don't plan to do bully sticks anytime soon because if you haven't seen them raw,
Oh, I
Google
can't
it.
imagine.
No thanks. No
Lauren,
thanks.
thank you so much for your time today. Tell people how they can find you.
Yeah, so we are on social media. I mean, unfortunately, everything. At Girls Gone Raw Pet Health. I think on TikTok, I'm at Girls Gone Raw. And then you can find us online at girlsgonerawpet.com. If you Google us, you will only find us and a couple of vegan sites. We are not the vegan one. And yeah, we have a monthly subscription box that's been really popping off. I have a couple of really, really cool boxes coming up, hopefully getting Angela into one of them. And we always have really cool single ingredient, locally farm sourced things coming up with no bullshit in any of them. If it doesn't serve a purpose, I'm not putting it in.
Yeah,
So,
I'm going to get one the moment I'm not in the RV and back in a house where I can get it delivered.
where you
Thank
actually
you.
have an address.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you so much for your time today. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I could rant about it forever. Sometimes have to hold myself back, but
I know. I'm the same way.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please make sure to leave us a review wherever you're listening from. This is the best way to help pet parents like you find these episodes and get access to all our content. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Your Natural Dog and at AngelaArdolino.com.